Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I think these are way too freaking low. Okay. I hope the sound is okay. I hope the sound is okay. Okay. Um Today's topic is, how did you come to terms with your sexuality? I'm gonna try to make this not too short, but also not too long. So first, I think I will just kind of give some definitions of like sexuality and my sexuality personally, and like the journeys that I went through within these sexualities. And I should have these a lot more prepared, but fake. Sometimes I just have to look it up like a little crazy. And I think I'm yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go with this website called devonsexualhealth.nhs.uk period. And I'm gonna define sexuality, and I'm just gonna like read off this little article, this small little article here, and then talk about myself. So, sexuality is deeply personal and individual to each of us. It's about the sexual feeling and attraction that we have for others. There's different types of sexuality, and everyone's is different. It's not as simple as being gay or straight. Some people are attracted to only one sex, others are attracted to both, and some a whole range of people regardless of sex or gender. This can also change over time and based on your experiences. So, that was like a little small little insight. Let me see if I can find like an actual Google definition for the word sexuality definition. Okay, so sexuality, according to the Oxford Dictionary, it's a noun, and it is the capacity for sexual feelings, a person's identity in relation to the gender or genders to which they are typically attracted, sexual orientation, and sexual activity. So basically, it is who you think is attractive, who do you want to have sex with, do you even want to have sex, do you like the idea of sexual intimacy, and like who would you like to share that intimacy with, if anyone at all, and just like how that relates to you, and whether or not gender even plays a role in your sexuality, and things like that. So, types of sexuality. There are some common labels that people use to identify their sexuality. This isn't necessarily defined by who they have sex with. It is about how they feel and how they choose to identify themselves, which is true. So, yeah. Okay. Straight or heterosexual, attracted mostly or only to people of the opposite sex or gender. So if you are a woman, that means you are attracted to men, and if you are a man, that means you are attracted to women, and like same goes for yeah. So basically that means that you are just the cookie cutter type sexuality that society thinks that you should be. Which is no problem, because if you are not anything other than that, then don't try to force yourself to be, or don't try to unlock some hidden sexuality that's not there, or do it just for trends. I know a lot of people do that just for trends. But if that's not really who you are, if that's not really who you are attracted to sexually or emotionally or mentally, then you should just be who you are. No joke. Gay / homosexual is attracted to mostly or only people of the same sex or gender. This used to refer to men, but now often refers to women as well. A lot of people used to use the term gay or homosexual to define men who were attracted to other men, but now a lot of people just use those terms as kind of like a gateway term to their sexuality, because it's much faster and easier to just say gay or homosexual and get people out of your face without too much explanation. If you just say you're gay or homosexual, like, it just makes a lot of things easier on you. But also be mindful, because it did used to be a term that was used very not kindly towards men who are gay, and a lot of gay men like to just be identified as gay. So just keep that in mind. Lesbian is attracted to mostly or only people of the same sex or gender, and this refers to women. This is still a term that is just used for women. Unlike gay or homosexual, it's not really a gateway term. It refers to women who only like other women, or feminine presenting people as well. So, yeah. Bisexual is attracted to both men and women. This does, for the most part, they're trying to lean out of that, and bisexual is like kind of getting more fluid, but for the most part, this does not relate or expand to trans men and trans women, or feminine presenting people or masculine presenting people that are non-binary. It's just for cisgendered, biologically sex characteristically men and women. I don't know the best way to say that, but basically, people who are bisexual just consider themselves to only be attracted to cis men and cis women most of the time. But it's getting more fluid, so period. Pansexual is attracted to romantic and sexual partners of any gender, sex, or sexual identity. So this is kind of the more fluid version that I discussed. So, meaning you are attracted to people who are masculine presenting and feminine presenting, or they don't really present any gender, or they present all genders at the same time. There are trans women, there are trans men, they're non-binary, they're just people. You just see people. It doesn't really matter to you what primary or secondary sex characteristics they have or were born with. Yeah. Polysexual, that is one that I personally don't have any experience with, so I might not say anything after the definition. Says attracted to romantic and sexual partners of many but not all gender, sexes, or sexual identities. So I guess this would be kind of like pansexual, but maybe with more rules. Say you are only attracted to trans women and trans men, but not cis, or I don't know. I literally don't know what polysexual means. Or maybe you're attracted to everyone but non-binary people. You hate non-binary people. Who knows? Or maybe you're attracted to everyone but women. You hate women or men or whatever, vice versa. I have no idea how to explain this, so sorry if I explained it wrong. Asexual means does not experience sexual attraction and or does not desire to act on sexual attraction. This is also something that is becoming more fluid and more of a spectrum, with things like aromantic, or certain things like that, where you can kind of pinpoint the type of asexuality you are. Some people who are asexual don't really have the need or want or enjoyment for sex, but let's say once a year they will have sex with their partner, or they only participate in certain kinds of sex, like oral sex or mutual masturbation, or say they don't masturbate and they only participate in oral sex with their partner or something like that. Like, it's beginning to get a little more fluid, or like, if you are asexual, you will only have sex with someone you are extremely deeply intertwined with, and you only have sex with them on days or times where you feel an extremely strong emotional connection to them. Like, I think that's, yeah. And then it says some people also choose the labels queer or fluid as a way of expressing themselves by their own personal feelings. There are also, like, like no labels, and there are also all different kinds of sexualities. But you guys can go read on that, because that's a lot of reading, and there are a lot of terms within the LGBTQ plus community, and they are consistently being updated all the time. Sorry, that was disgusting. They're consistently being updated all the time. Sometimes I find that I myself have to get a little bit updated on the terms, because sometimes I am not. So yeah, now we're going to get into, I had a wedgie. Now we're going to get into my particular story with my sexuality and how I came to terms with it. When I was younger, like, from until I guess I became like conscious or whatever, I had always been attracted to men and women, or I guess like at that time it was boys and girls. And I just was in awe of like men and women and like every gender. Like, I thought that, they were so cool and they were gorgeous, but I didn't really understand what that meant. And I would have like intimate experiences with other younger girls, like kissing or something, like something small like that. And I had also had daycare with a girl who was born as intersex. She had boobs and a penis, and I thought she was really cool, and I thought she was super gorgeous, and I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. Like, I was just like, okay. But I was also a little kid in daycare who just needed to use the bathroom. So, yeah. And then I started to grow up, and my family was extremely religious because we lived with our grandmother, and she just didn't like anything about the LGBTQ plus community. She just didn't approve of it, like anything. So I started growing up with that kind of frame mindset, like, that's weird. Or I would just say things like that around my family. But I really didn't, like, see anything wrong with it, or like, yeah. Like, I would say, like, I was a bit of a homophobe, like, just a little bit, until I started, like, coming to more terms with my sexuality. And when I always had knew, but I didn't really officially, like, come to terms with it until I was in the 6th grade. And I had a crush on a girl at my school, and I never said anything because, of course, like, you're scared and you don't really understand what it means, but you kind of do, but you also don't. Like, it was just like that kind of dilemma that I was dealing with. And so, like, I just didn't say anything. But when I was in 7th grade, I told my friends and my sister, and I was starting, like, when I was in like 7th and 8th grade, like, I was starting to experience more like intimate relationships with women, and I would like date women, young women, young girls. I don't know the appropriate term to say, but like, we were in middle school. So yeah, I was experiencing a lot more of that. And then I just kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, like, I'm trying to think of the best way to like put this into words, but um basically my sister, I love my sister. This is not a jab at her, I swear. But she outed me. Like, she outed me to my mom and my other sister, and like it wasn't something that I got to do for myself. And at that time, I identified as bisexual, and so I just kind of had to explain that to my sister, and my mom. And it was really sad because, like, I had really just never really said it out loud, I guess, to anyone who particularly mattered too much. Like, of course, my friends did matter and I did care about them, but it, like, like, that's my family, that's different. So, yeah, I identified as bisexual. So, I'm going to read the definition for bisexual. Fuck it, Wikipedia. The bisexual flag is so cute, by the way. It's literally pink, purple, and blue. So, Wikipedia says bisexuality is a romantic or sexual attraction or behavior towards both males and females, gender binary, to more than one gender, or to both people of the same gender and different genders. It may also be defined to include romantic or sexual attraction to people regardless of their gender identity, which is also known as pansexuality. I personally, I don't know, what everyone else's thought process is. I personally don't like to put bisexual and pansexual in the same category. Like, I think that there are two separate categories, but yes, they can tie into each other. Like, pansexual is a little more elevated than bisexual, but I do think that both sexualities deserve like their own kind of like individual interpretation. Okay. The okay. Sorry, I missed where I was at. The term bisexuality is mainly used for people that have both heterosexual and homosexual attraction. Bisexuality is one of the three main classifications of sexual orientation, along with heterosexuality and homosexuality, all of which exist on the heterosexual-homosexual continuum. A bisexual identity does not necessarily equate to equal sexual attraction to both sexes. Commonly, people who have a distinct but not exclusive sexual preference for one sex over the other also identify themselves as bisexual. Scientists do not know the exact cause of sexual orientation, but they theorize that it is caused by a complex interplay of genetic, hormonal, and environmental influences, and do not view it as a choice. Although no single theory on the cause of sexual orientation has yet gained widespread support, scientists favor biologically based theories. There is considerably more evidence supporting non-social biological causes of sexual orientations than social ones, especially for males. Bisexuality has been observed in various human societies as well as elsewhere in the animal kingdom throughout recorded history. The term bisexuality, like the terms hetero and homosexuality, was coined in the 19th century by Charles Gilbert Chadwick. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any more prevalent information, but if you want to know more about that, it is on Wikipedia, and all the information seems very, like, very, like, I heard Wikipedia is not that great of a source because it could be edited and stuff, but it looked like it was pretty valid, and there was, like, a lot of good things to read on there, but I just don't have the energy to read all of that, and it looked like a lot of repetitive material from the two beginning paragraphs anyway, so yeah, I'm just not going to waste everybody's time by reading that. But at that time, Sorry to yawn. At that time, I consider myself bisexual. I had only liked men and women, and I didn't really know about different types of gender identities and like the idea that I could just like anyone and everyone no matter what. So, yeah, I was at the time, I was 50-50 when I first started, like in my head, I guess, like 50% women, 50% men. But then over time, I started to favor women a lot more, even though I mainly only ended up with men. But I did have like a couple, like a lot more dating experience and like intimate and not even like sexually active like intimacy, but just like holding hands or kissing or hugging or cuddling with women when I first came out and stuff compared to now. The dating scene for women is a lot harder in my opinion, but I digress. That's like a whole nother topic to get into. So yeah, at that time that's what I identified as, and then I started getting a lot older and I started learning about a lot more things, and I came out as pansexual in, I want to say, in between 2018 to 2019. Like, it was somewhere in between that range as to when I came out as pansexual. And I first came out to myself when, and I think it was even way before then, before I started doing, like, a deep dive. But I just didn't, like, have a term on it. And I didn't put a label on it until then. And so when I finally did, I came out as pansexual by myself, and I was really just glad to be able to have that experience. And I think like, of course, finding out about myself was very important to me, but I do think that taking extra steps to realize a lot more about myself, I think I just kind of did that to take back the power from being outed and to be able to have my own voice and say my identity and express my identity for myself in the way that I wanted to. And I've been still pansexual ever since. I don't think that will ever change. But I just came to terms with the fact that I was pansexual because I just kind of realized that I don't really care about what you have or you did have or who you were when you were born or who you are now. All I care about is if you're a good person. I just care about whether or not you're very sweet and you're kind and you have all of the emotional characteristics that I'm looking for. Like, of course, being attractive is like a plus. Like, you have to have some kind of like attractiveness towards your partner in order to, like, stay with them for a long time. Like, you have to be attracted to something. But I feel like besides looks and just seeing the person, like, what would keep me and like get me to stay is their personality. Like, so I will read the definition of pansexual for you guys, and then I'll give my definition, even though I just did, but like a little bit more, whatever. Sir, I'm gonna click on the one that says WebMD. Pansexuality is the romantic, emotional, and or sexual attraction to people regardless of their gender. Like everyone else, pansexual people may be attracted to some people and not others, but the gender of the person does not matter. People of any gender identity can and do identify as pansexual. Sometimes some people use the terms bisexual and pansexual interchangeably, but there are distinctions between the two. Other names for pansexual. Some people prefer the term omnisexual to pansexual. Some people feel that the term pansexuality implies that Their attraction to people has nothing to do with gender. People who prefer the term omnisexual can be attracted to people of any gender, but find that gender is still a factor in their attraction. Both pan and omni mean all, and the distinction between omnisexuality and pansexuality is hazy. Some people use them interchangeably. And I'm glad that I read this because I had never heard of omnisexual before. What is the difference between pansexuality, bisexuality, and polysexuality? Bisexuality is at its core the attraction to some people of two or more genders, while pansexuality is the attraction to a person regardless of gender. Polysexuality is the attraction to people of many but not all genders. It is important to note that while a bisexual or pansexual person may be attracted to people of different genders or regardless of gender, this does not mean that they are automatically attracted to all people of those genders, just as a heterosexual woman is not necessarily attracted to all men. Okay. Pansexual versus bisexual. Pansexuality and bisexuality are similar but not quite the same. Pansexuality is broader than bisexuality, and some people who identify as pansexual may be attracted to people of all genders. Bisexuality is the attraction to two or more genders, but not necessarily all. People who identify as bisexual may be pansexual, but not necessarily. Some people prefer to identify as bisexual, even if they may be pansexual, simply because the term bisexual is more commonly recognized. Pansexual versus polysexual. Similarly, the distinction between pansexuality and polysexuality is that pansexuality is broader than polysexuality. Unlike bisexuality, polysexuality specifically implies that there are some genders to which the person is not attracted. Poly means many, but not all. For example, someone who is polysexual may be attracted to people of every gender except women. Meanwhile, a pansexual person may be attracted to men, women, non-binary people, and people of any other gender. Myths and common misconceptions about pansexuality. Some people assume that attraction to others, regardless of their gender, implies that pansexual people act on their attraction more frequently than others. This can lead to the stereotype that pansexual people are promiscuous. However, just as with heterosexuality or homosexuality, pansexual people are all individuals. Any given pansexual person will have their own preference for the amount of sexual activity they want, and they may also prefer to remain celibate. Furthermore, these same stereotypes of promiscuity cause some people to accuse pansexual people of being less likely to remain monogamous. This is untrue. Pansexual people are just as likely to prefer monogamy as hetero or homosexual people. Pansexuality is not the same thing as polyamory. The potential to be attracted to someone of any gender is not connected to a preference for multiple partners. How pansexuality works in relationships. Pansexual people are attracted to people regardless of gender, so if any given pansexual person can find themselves in a wide variety of relationships. These relationships may be straight passing, or they may be obviously non-heterosexual. Regardless of their partner's gender, a pansexual person remains pansexual. They often do not experience the straight passing privilege. Instead, they may experience microaggressions as their sexuality is ignored or dismissed. As with every relationship, it is important for any one partner with the pansexual person to discuss boundaries. Neither partners should make any assumptions about things such as monogamy, sexual acts, or general preferences. Every pansexual person is different and has their own preferences. If you're in a relationship with someone who is pansexual, it's important to respect them and their boundaries. Helping your loved ones understand pansexuality. While you don't need to come out to your loved ones as pansexual, some people find it helpful or cathartic. If you choose to come out, you can explain pansexuality as being a natural attraction to people regardless of gender. Some pansexual activists use the phrase hearts, not parts, to explain this orientation. While the phrase is reductive, it can be a useful tool when talking to people who aren't familiar with LGBTQ plus terminology. If you're talking to your loved ones about pansexuality because you have a new partner, you should talk with your new partner first. If a new relationship is spurring you to come out, then you are likely dating someone else who falls under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. If you come out, you may be outing your partner as well. This disclosure can have serious effects on your partner's life. If your partner would prefer to remain in the closet, then you may choose to wait before coming out for yourself as respect of their privacy. I really like that article. Oh my gosh, and I just exited out of it, I think. Fudge. It's in the browser history. I'm going to go back to that, and I think I'm going to send that to myself so I can read it from time to time. I think it definitely hit the nail on the head with how I feel about my sexuality. Me personally, I just, like I said, I view pansexuality as an attraction to personality and not gender. I really don't care what gender you are, what you have as far as genitalia goes, or what you did have. I don't really care what you identify as far as gender or sex or sexuality goes. I think that as long as you're attracted to me and I'm attracted to you and you're a gorgeous person, that I would be willing to take the extra steps to go further with you because while it is a label, like, I just don't feel the need to put my sexuality in such a box. And yes, boxes can be helpful. Boxes are really good. But for me, I just feel like I just don't care that much. Like, I do care, but I just don't care that much to limit myself because anybody of any gender will be horrible to you or they'll be mean to you, but so it's like, to me, it doesn't really matter. I just care that you're a nice person. And of course, like, I care that I would be attracted to you, but I just mainly care that you're actually a kind person and you take me for who I am, because I'm going to take you for who you are. And, I definitely agree that, not all pansexual people are going to feel the same way as I do. They're not going to identify their sexuality in the same way. And I find that a lot of people, when they find out that I am pansexual, they immediately assume that means that I am into relationships that are not monogamous or relationships that include one or more people. But I am not. I am a pansexual person who prefers monogamy heavily. I do think that polyamory and things like that are very interesting, but I just don't think that those styles of relationships will work specifically for me and the type of emotional person that I am. It's just not for me. It is something, like, of course, like, I'm always willing to try everything and explore everything. Like, it is something that I could potentially, want to explore and try, but I just personally know that it's not my thing. So if I try it and I don't like it, like, I won't fault myself because at least I took the time to try it and find out, because who knows, I could surprise myself. But at the current moment, I prefer monogamy, and I am not into sexual acts that involve more than just one partner. A lot of people will assume that I am, and they'll assume that I like to have sex with men and women and any gender under the sun at the same time, but I do not. If I'm going to have sex with someone or be sexually intimate or romantically intimate with someone, I would just prefer to have it be with just that one person. I am extremely claustrophobic. I feel like having all those hands and parts and voices all around, like, it would just overstimulate me and I would freak out. and I also have ADHD, so that would just be like way too much for me to try to handle and like minimize and put a control on at the same time. Like, I just, no. That's just not my thing. And I think it's really hard for people to understand why people who like more than one gender are not interested in, being with more than one gender at one time. But it's just because what you like, it doesn't, sometimes those things don't have to tie into each other, say you are bisexual and you're also asexual. Like, yes, I like men and women, but I don't want to have sex with either one, or I don't want to have, yeah. So for me, it's like I said, I do like every gender there is, and every sex, every sexuality there is, to be explored, and I find them all gorgeous and beautiful, but I just am not personally currently, because like I said, maybe I'll surprise myself, but I just currently am personally not interested in doing something like that. Like having a threesome, I feel like would be extremely demeaning and diminishing to what I consider my sexuality to be. Like, I don't consider it to be like a parlor trick or like a magic trick to show off, especially for men who fetishize, women on women sexual activity. I just feel like it just completely takes away from how I feel about my sexuality. But with that being said, if that's what you're into and that's what you like to do, no judgment here. Everybody is different, and it might mean something different for you, or it might not be as serious on the level as mine is to me. So if that's something that you enjoy to do, then go ahead. That's your freak. Have fun. But that's not my freak. I like to only have one freak at a time. So, yeah. But all in all, to answer the question, how I came to terms with this was just realizing that this is who I am, like Wikipedia said, a lot of scientists are trying to equate it. You are not trying to, but they're mainly equating it to biological factors. Like, somebody in my family was probably gay as fuck, and now I am too, and that's okay. I don't mind it, and I don't care, because at the end of the day, even if I tried my hardest to hide it or change it or reverse it or what have you, or whatever people think that gay people can, whatever they think that we can do to just magically stop, yeah, it's like, I love my sexuality and stuff, but I just don't understand how people could think this could be a choice. Like, bitch, I don't wake up every day thinking I want to get bullied or being sad about the fact that I like every gender under the sun and I'm still miserable and single. Yeah. So I just came to terms with it by realizing that this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And who knows, maybe one day I'll marry a very gorgeous, feminine presenting person along the way. And I'll fall in love with them and I'll die next to someone who's pretty and not ugly. That's all I can hope for. Yeah. If you are struggling with coming out or with realizing your sexuality and you need someone to talk to, I would love to talk to you. I love helping people navigate their sexuality and just talking to them. A lot of people think that the number one way to find out your sexuality is through sex, and it's not, because there's literally a sexuality dedicated to the idea of not wanting to have sex at all. I think the best way to find out your sexuality is through conversation with not only yourself, but people of different genders. Get out there, flirt a little bit, because then you'll find out that it's something that could be attainable, outside of sex, So I just encourage you to reach out to me or to anybody or to even yourself, write it down, journal it, write it on a mirror, talk to yourself. about it, because finding out your sexuality, even if you find out that you're just straight, is still something so gorgeous, because that's something that nobody could ever take away from you, and that only you'll know, and only you can elevate it or de-elevate it, or find out something new, or label it or unlabel it, or act on it or not act on it, or tell everyone or keep it a secret. It's yours. It's, no matter what, it's yours. And I think that that's something that's extremely gorgeous and beautiful. So I heavily encourage, get out there, get out there, get active, get busy, and find out about yourself, because you deserve it and you earned it no matter what. Just being a human being, you earn the right to explore yourself and to have individuality. Even if you feel like you're just like every other bitch, okay, that's fine. Because even if you find out you're just like every other person that you come in contact with, or you're a cookie cutter, or you're literally like NPC style version of the same person, at least the one thing that you have is the fact that you took the individual experience to find that out about yourself, and nobody can take that away from you, and only you can choose to do with it what you want. Yeah. Um I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you didn't, that's okay. You can hate me. I'm sorry. I'm gay. I can't help it. Yeah. Um it's also June. Happy Pride. Even if you don't listen to this, I'm recording this in June, so happy Pride. Haha. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.